They'll never go away.
It's like, I know I did it once already.
And go.
You ready? All the way in. All right.
Oh yeah.
Take two.
Take two. Yeah. Well, if you could hand it to me once I go in and go on there. Here we go. All the way under. Woo. There you go. Get your microphone. Well, I'll just try to do this and we'll see how it goes. You can hit start if you want. All right, so here we are. We're down here at Frostfire. It's already happening to my brain. We're down here at Frostfire Sauna and Cold Plunge in downtown Lynchburg, Virginia. My guest today is Myke Barron. He is the president of the Black Stag Group. They operate the White Heart Cafe in downtown Lynchburg, Virginia. He also is a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and teaches morning classes every once in a while down at RAM, which is also downtown Lynchburg, Virginia. This was his first cold plunge experience, and thank you to Frostfire for having us down here and letting us do our first episode of Complacency Kills in the new format, which is we're going to do 2 rounds of sauna and cold plunge, and then we're going to have a short conversation and talk about maybe some politics, what Myke's doing in the community, and how he's trying to help Lynchburg be a better place. And one of the ways that I think we do that is we start by taking care of ourselves, our mental health, our physical health, and one of the ways that you can do that is you can come down to Frostfire Sauna and Cold Plunge and you can participate in what we're doing here today. And there'll be more. We'll talk about the effects and the benefits and all that, but thanks for watching.
That makes a difference. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a 15-minute timer.
Yep. So as soon as that runs out, we'll run and jump in.
Yeah, it was cold and about what you'd expect. But it was good.
Was it? What did you think from going from the hot to the cold?
I like the extreme. I think in some ways it was easier to do that than to go straight into like straight into the cold plunge. So having been on the hot extreme, you kind of craving a little bit more of the cold.
Exactly.
So a little easier that way, but yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah, this is my second time doing it where you go from the hot to the cold. And
oh, really?
I prefer that way more. Because at my house, I don't have
oh, I see.
I just have a cold.
So you're only doing the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I was just raw dogging it, just getting straight at cold, and it is not fun.
Tough.
It's much easier to get in it when you've come from the hot. So
yeah. I do cold showers, and usually what I do is I'll take a regular shower, I'll clean up or whatever, and then I'll turn it cold and just do that for a little while before I get out. And I think that is a little easier than just jumping straight into a cold shower.
It is a good place to start. If you're considering doing a cold plunge and you've never been exposed to cold water, just turn it to cold every once in a while and just see how you handle it.
Yeah.
Because it does take your breath away. Like, the thing you don't want to do is hyperventilate.
Right.
You want to get oxygen, and
Breathing through it.
it's tough to do that when you get shot with some adrenaline from the cold plunge.
It'll pop you.
Yeah. But so yeah, thank you. And one of the reasons why I'm doing the show this way now is because I'm a huge believer in taking care of yourself, and I think one of the best ways that you can do that is with sauna and cold plunge. Amongst, there's a ton of modalities, in which you can take care of yourself, eating right, sleeping right, exercise. But I think that this is a big part of it, and now it's available in Lynchburg. So
Yeah, man.
super happy that it's here, and big shout out to Frostfire Sauna and Cold Plunge.
The good people.
So
Good people.
now that we've got you here and you've plunged and your body is just full of goodness, what do you want to talk about? I know you're really active in the community, and one of the things that you're doing right now is you're driving school buses because we lack school bus drivers.
Yeah.
So you're trying to fill that void. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a little kind of the backstory as how that came about. I've got 4 boys, and they're all in the Lynchburg City schools, and would get phone calls pretty much every day over the last school year saying, these buses are running late, and they're going to be 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, late. Just, man, kids going to school late every single day. Like, there just can't be good for, like, there's a routine I think that's good to get into, and I think kids especially thrive with a routine, and it's just disruptive to the learning, environment for kids to be coming in late, and they're missing certain things because they're not there. And I was like, man, that's a problem. And especially thinking in terms of, like, in a community like ours, who's most reliant on transportation. A lot of times it is the lower socioeconomic groups that don't have as they don't have transportation options. So it's not like, the bus doesn't come by that somebody can just run them to school. They're just not going to go to school, and that, or it creates a problem for their parents who are trying to work, get the job, get to their job, and now they got to be late to their job because they got to take their kid to school or whatever. It seems so simple, but it becomes a big problem. And so I just kept hearing the phone calls, and I kept seeing the signs. There's a big bus out in front of East Eagle High School. It has a big, looking for bus drivers sign, and I'd see it, and for a few months, just kind of kept going about my business. And I had a Class B CDL for about 15 years now. Then I kept up thinking maybe one day I'll use it, and it's easier to maintain than to get it again. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, got a CDL. I'm in business. I make my own schedule, so there's really no excuse. I can do, which we'll talk a little bit about some of the barriers, I think. And one of them is, I think, schedule. People think, I can't do every morning and I can't do every afternoon. And that was part of my, thinking is like, man, I teach jujitsu Tuesday and Thursday morning. I can't drive a bus. Finally, I just called and said, all right, you guys need some bus drivers. I got a CDL. Let's talk. How can I help? And got the opportunity to sit down and do an interview with Hope, who's the director of transportation there. And she said, whatever your schedule is, we'll make it work. So if you can give us these days and afternoon or morning, or you don't have to be available every morning and every afternoon. They'll make it work. And so I was like, all right, I got no excuses now. So I jumped in and started driving a bus, and been doing that now since the beginning of the school year. And I do 3 mornings a week, and every afternoon drive a bus.
And there's still a void. We still need.
Still a great need, yeah. before COVID. So, and I got an opportunity too. I sat down with Hope and talked a little bit about just the challenges they're facing in general, and some of the solutions that she sees from a leadership perspective. And she said before COVID, they had over 100 bus drivers, and now we have like half of that. And some of that is due to funding being cut, every year. So trying to work her way back up where we have, probably won't get over 100, but if we can get up to like 75, 80 drivers, then we wouldn't have any more transportation issues. Now it's kind of at a point, we have bus drivers to cover routes, but buses are crowded. And kids are sitting 3 to a seat because it's just crowded.
Yeah.
You've got an issue where if somebody calls out, they're sick or whatever, nobody can really cover them. So somebody's got to finish their route and then go cover that route. And so that's, again, sets kids back. You got issue where really a lot of their drivers right now, I say a lot, there's several drivers that are actually, their mechanics are driving buses. And their office personnel are driving buses. There's days when there's one person in the office as dispatch, and there's supposed to be multiple handling the different routes, and there's one person in the office and the rest of them are out driving the bus. Well, so, again, that creates all kinds of other problems, but it would be great to get to a place where, we've got enough drivers where office personnel can be office personnel and mechanics can just be mechanics. And that's the ideal, right? But we got to have drivers to do that. And the other thing I think is important to know too is drivers it's more than just the mechanic of driving a bus. It's more than just can you operate a big vehicle and can you safely drive these kids to and from school. But you're the first and last person that they see. These kids, a lot of times you're the very first person that they're going to see that day, and then the last one as they go back home. And you can really set the tone. And so I think it's important to have people that have that kind of mindset too, that, really love kids. And what's great is the ones that we do have right now, like a lot of the bus drivers, one of the things I noticed first, and that was kind of my thought was, I want to get into this so I can help, but I also want to kind of understand the challenge a little bit more and see if we can do something beyond just driving a bus. And one of the first things I noticed as I started to get involved was some of the longest tenured people in the school district work for transportation. And we're talking about they've been driving a bus for 30, 40 years. That's wild. Like, you just don't have tenure like that in general,
Yeah.
In any field. And it's not because it's the best paying job. It's not because it's the most rewarding job per se. It's because they genuinely care about the kids, and they genuinely care about the kids being able to get to school and have a good education. So I think that's something to be said about the people who are involved. Like, they really are making a difference, and we just need more.
How do we find more? Where are they at? What are they doing?
I think I can identify 3 groups in particular that I've honed in on. Again, one of the barriers I think to getting drivers is people think, well, you got to have a pretty specific schedule. I've got to be able to. Some people just don't like getting up early, and you got to get up early if you're going to do a morning route. But if you're not a morning person, just drive around the afternoon. That's better than not. That's better than having a limited number of drivers both morning and afternoon. So I think people in my mind that are the best position to do something like this, first and foremost to me, is church personnel. There's a lot of things I think about when we talk about tackling community issues that really aren't the government's responsibility. They're really not, they're not meant to be litigated. It's like there's certain entities that are made to like when we did the community kitchen, during COVID, White Hart was just, we're a restaurant, but we weren't the ones that were going to go bring the food to people and like identify needs. That's not really what a restaurant does, right? Restaurant just makes food. And so that's what we did. We stayed in our lane. We were a restaurant, and then let the churches go and identify the need. They're the ones in the neighborhood. They're the ones building relationships. They're the one, that's what they exist for, is to build relationship and help their communities. So, I think church personnel really are in a great position to help their communities. I mean, a lot of these churches are positioned in communities where there are kids that ride the bus, so, and you have the flexibility. A lot of times if you work in a church, you're not necessarily beholden to a particular schedule. You can get up early and drive a bus route, carry about your business during the day, and then drive one in the afternoon, maybe drive an activity bus, get kids to the football game or whatever. And then you have the opportunity to really build relationships there. So in my mind, there's no reason if you're working at a church and you're really serious about reaching your community, you should really seriously consider driving a school bus.
Let's say I'm watching this and I decide I want to help. I want to be a bus driver, but I don't have a CDL. How do I go about, is the school district putting people through classes to get their CDL or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll walk you through the process. So that you can get the CDL itself, where you have to get the commercial driver's license, is a DMV thing. You've got to go through the DMV, but they'll walk you through that process. They'll give you the paperwork and send you where you need to go. But then there's a school bus endorsement that you have to have for your CDL. So like I can get a CDL, and if I have a Class A, I can drive certain like semi trailers and things like that. Class B is a passenger CDL, so anything 16 passenger, I think, and up, you have to have a Class B CDL. But like I said, I had my Class B CDL, but I still had to get the school bus endorsement. And so the DMV still handles that, and you still test through that. But there's like certified instructors, certified trainers, and the school district has those. So you would do that part to the.
And none of this is out of pocket. So you just have to have the will to want to be a part of the solution.
No, in fact, they'll pay you as you train. So you're training for your CDL, you're training for your school bus endorsement. All of that is documented hours, and they pay you for it.
Nice. So veterans, I know veterans are probably in a really good.
Yeah. So that was actually cool. When I was talking to Hope, the director of transportation for LCS, I mentioned church personnel being a really good group, and I think I fit the demographic of just entrepreneur. If you can make your own schedule. I have 5 hours between the morning route and the afternoon route that I can do my business and do what I need to do, and then in the evenings if I have to. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business and you make your own schedule, why not drive a bus? Another thing there, you're thinking in terms of the security of your business. If you're a local business here in town and you're ensuring the future of Lynchburg by investing in these kids, and a lot of them are going to stick around Lynchburg. They're going to stay in Lynchburg, and so these kids and their education seems so small. It seems so silly and maybe insignificant, but it really makes a big difference. And for small businesses to thrive, you need the citizens to thrive, right? So I think it's important to invest in the future of this town. If you are a business person here, it makes perfect sense. But the group that Hope brought up that I thought was really interesting, she said, of course, there's a lot of retirees, people that retire from some from education or from other jobs that jump in that have kind of a flexible schedule. She said specifically some of their best bus drivers have been veterans. And so reaching out to the veteran community, that's actually what I reached out to you. I was like, hey, community thought, because I know you're very much engaged and embedded in the veteran community here in Lynchburg. I think there's a whole group of people there that I think could really be a special solution to the transportation problem for the students of Lynchburg. So
yeah, most of my audience right now is veteran, heavy veteran base. So if you're a veteran and you're watching this and you want to help be a part of the solution, and you have a CDL, which I know some of them do, just because of some of their specific jobs in the military. I know you got some time on your hands because I see you every Friday down at Myke Terrace. So
There you go.
help drive a bus, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, we talked about the business, sector, the entrepreneurs. There's a guy actually just started driving a bus as a realtor, and he's got the same type of deal. He's like, I can do all my realtor stuff in between times, but he's driving a bus in the morning and driving one in the afternoon. And so I think that kind of thing, I'm just calling people, like, if you really want to, it's not about, I'm always going to bring this back. This is something I've said for a lot of years, but Mother Teresa said, kind of paraphrased, you can do no great things, just small things with great love. And this is one of those things in my mind that just fits that category. It's not glamorous. It's not some great, look at me sort of thing. It's a small thing that really doesn't take much, and it fits pretty well within certain your schedule if you're have some flexibility. It's just a small thing. It's a small way you can jump in. You can be a part of a solution that meets a very real need in our community. So why not? And so I actually really enjoy it. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of the other people that do it, and a lot of them are like, man, I love. I was talking to one lady who she's done business before. She's done some different things. She's kind of been in different fields, and she's like, this is my favorite job. It's the best job I've ever had. I love it, and it's just something, there's just something about it. You really feel like, to me, it's the easiest part of my day. I turn the phone off. Nobody can reach me, which is like a side benefit. I'm unreachable for that, whatever 2-3 hour block that I'm driving the bus. And you just do your thing. I love that space that it creates too. So
nice. Well, hopefully this inspires at least one new bus driver.
Yeah.
If anything.
If you need to find out more, I can tell you more. And certainly,
I'll put up on the screen,
facilitate any
where to receive more information and where to go on that.
Yeah.
What else is going on? I know you're a man of the people in the community.
What else is going on?
I know we've got elections coming up, local elections.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on Lynchburg's local politics? Just in general, what's the, if you could sum it up in one phrase, what would you say?
One phrase. I can give it to you in one word. Distracted.
Okay. I was going to say messy, but distracted is good.
Distracted. Well, it's something I've been saying. I think, a lot of times whatever your political persuasion, however you vote, a lot of times the impetus behind your vote is, who's going to lead us to success and prosperity and whatever else for our city, for our community, for our nation. And the other side, the fear is, right, if so-and-so wins, our country's going to be destroyed, our town's going to be destroyed, our community's destroyed. And there's like this idea that we get the wrong person in a position, then we're headed for destruction. And something I've been saying is really the greatest threat to our community is not destruction, it's distraction. And like usually the name of the podcast, complacency kills, right? A lot of times what leads to complacency is you get distracted. You get distracted by your appetite, you get distracted by your own pride, you get distracted by things that don't matter. And most of the time I think that's where what creates problems in a community is we're just distracted by things that just don't matter. And I see that. I think a lot of people see that on the political side of things, but I think it's just that, what we see politically is just a reflection of where a lot of us are. There's a reason the entertainment industry is such a huge industry. People want to be distracted.
Absolutely.
We want to distract ourselves. And, there's a lot of things we talk about mental health, that's behind that, what we're trying to distract ourselves from. That's very serious and very, important to have conversations about. But in terms of politics, there's certainly, in my mind, there's just so much noise that's distracting from what's really important, and that's a problem. That's a shame.
How do we get? I mean, obviously, we need to put the right people in the right positions, but without making this too much about politics, I become a huge fan of Cameron Craddock Howe because of her independent position. I'm a huge believer that local politics, especially, we shouldn't be left or right predominantly at any time. We should always be somewhere in the middle, because we have to all coexist here. We have to. It's a small enough place where being at each other's throats because we're red or blue or what any of that stuff means, which I've never bought into. I just think there's no room for it. And this time of year, I get so distracted driving down the roads and seeing, red signs here and blue signs here. It's just so much clutter and waste. It just seems so silly to me. So if we're talking about politics, I just want to shout out to Cameron and say that would be my pick for city council, at least in Ward 1 where I live, because that's what I really pay attention to, I guess. And she wanted to be a guest on this podcast, but I don't think we're going to have time before elections for her to be here. So I just want to show her some love. Actually, her and I actually tried to do this, but my microphone's cut out and it was just a mess. So shout out to Cameron.
I think it was you, and there's actually been a couple of other people that I really respect that have recommended her in particular. But I'm definitely going to bend towards a independent candidate anytime there is one. And I tell people, and it's the same way I do business. Like I don't partner with organizations or parties, or like I partner with people. Like people are who I connect with, and actually there's been times where I've backed an organization because of the people who are involved, and then there was a transition of power of some kind, and there's people I couldn't really get behind, and so I'd no longer back the organization, because it's not about what the organization does, it's the people behind it that I really connect with and want to vouch for. And so I'm going to vote for people, not for a party. I think that's something I would encourage everybody to consider. Like, it really shouldn't be about a certain party or platform, because really, a lot of politicians are just launching onto a platform just to get whatever votes they think they can get, whatever platform they think can get them where they want to go. Or we see whoever's backing them, right? Which you'll see people swing, from one to another, just because it's whatever, allows them to get where they think they want to go. And so I think we do ourselves a disservice when we start to vote along party lines. Vote for people. Take the time, educate yourself, get to know people, especially locally. I mean, these aren't just these are inaccessible people. These are people that are at the same coffee shops you're at, holding meetings, and the same, sauna cold plunge you're at, right?
Yeah.
So get to know them, talk to them, absolutely, watch them, see how they treat people, and
when the cameras are off.
Watch
how they treat people when the cameras are off.
Yes,
it's a huge tell.
Yes,
yeah.
And I think I think we were talking about this before. I'll just throw this out there. When you talk about the city local city politics, there's I think it's important to remember that there's a difference between when you look at leadership. Well, who's leading this city? Leadership is not a position. Like, a lot of times we think that you got the position, therefore you're leading the city. Leadership's a posture long before it's a position. So if you don't have the posture of a leadership, and I think one of the things that you see a lot of times, people get into a political position and they forget that they're public servants. They're a servant. They're serving people. They're not in some position of authority over you. Like, we're to serve from that position. And that starts with a posture of leadership. And there's a lot of people that have a position of leadership that don't have the posture of leadership. And in my mind, they're not leading anybody. They're just occupying space. But there's also people who don't have the position of leadership, who have a posture of leadership. And they're the ones that really make this city pop. Now, I won't hear, but I could list off the top of my head people that I know are in this community making a difference, and they don't have a position. Nobody handed them a position or elected them to power or anything like that. They just take what they have and they have a posture of leadership. They serve the people around them. They make the world around them a better place. And so, on one hand, it's like, hey, let's really see how we can get people into the political positions that do have that posture of leadership. At the same time, like, let's not get too caught up in, oh man, this person's in that position, because really the people who have the posture of leadership are the ones driving this town anyway, and they're the ones that are going to be continuing to make a difference in this town, whether somebody recognizes them or not. So
How do we get them to run? How do we get you to run?
I ain't trying to run.
But see, that's my point. Why not?
Well, I guess
I view you as a great leader.
Well, I appreciate that. I think for me, it's more about wherever you are, whether you run a business, whether you are a teacher, you're a firefighter, police officer, you're a restaurant owner or whatever, or if you just wait tables. I mean, whatever position you're in, whatever part part you play in the community. If your heart is truly to make the world a better place, and like you said before, you're leading something, everybody's leading something, and it starts with leading yourself. Just use what you have and use that platform, use that gift, use that place that you're in to make a difference where you are. And if it's the kind of the being faithful with little, then if you can be faithful with little things, then you can be trusted with big things. And so I think the people that are, I think there's some people that are running for city council right now that have done the little things for a lot of years, that are just regular people, and now they're taking that opportunity, kind of build on what little things they've been faithful with and take a little bigger step. But I don't think the people that make the biggest difference are necessarily the ones with the positions and the titles. And I think I'm okay with that, Okay. All right. Might be wrong.
I just think, I just think you'd be good at it. And I think people would, weren't you trying to get a position on the school?
I did. Yeah. I think that's something I'm gonna probably push back into. I really believe in my degrees in education. So I was a school teacher in the public school system long before I ever got into business or anything else. And so I've always had a heart for the public school system and public schooling in particular, not just education. I think education is important, and I'm all about education options, private school, homeschool, things like that. I don't have any issue with any of that stuff. But there will always be a need for the public school system. Again, my heart is for, I love to create options for people, but there's some people that just by their demographic, they're just limited, and there's kids that are always going to need the public school, the free education, that are never going to be able to afford private school, never going to be able to go, they don't have the parent or the family support, or their parents don't have the ability to homeschool them, whatever the reason might be. There's always going to be a need for the public school system. And so I want to continue to build that and fortify that and engage that. I think it's important. You can't just, I think too many people I hear, like they'll bash the public school system and take their kids and put them in private school, and bash because the public school system is this or that and everything else. I'm like, man, we just need good kids in the public school system. Like, my education, my kids, I'm not depending on the school system to educate my kids. My education for my kids starts at home, period, right? And we have that to begin with. But then I want my kids in the public school system influencing, how things operate there, and influencing the other kids that don't necessarily have the family structure that we have, or the support at home that we have. And anyway, so I'm passionate about that, and I would love the opportunity again to maybe throw my name in the hat for school board. Went through the process. It was kind of more educational than anything, but I was grateful. I was actually selected for an interview, and was given the opportunity to interview. Didn't get appointed, but learned a lot in that process, and did spend some time. I was on the equity task force until they folded that this past, I guess about a month or two ago now. They actually voted to close down the equity task force and not use that anymore. But I was on the equity task force last year, and on the Career Technical Education Advisory Board. So doing what I can from the position I'm in. But I do think I could be a legitimate voice from the school board to help shape the way we do things in this town, and really to create policies that don't forget about the kids that don't have a voice, that don't have people representing them, so.
Yeah, nice. Well, hopefully we'll get you in there. That'll be a stepping stone. Then you'll go from there. We'll get you on city council. Then someday you'll be the mayor.
I don't know if that's my calling or not. I don't think that's my calling, but I'm here for whatever my calling shapes up to be. So
well, good. Well, I'm happy you're a citizen of Lynchburg. I'm happy to know you, and enjoyed hanging out with you today. So hopefully we can get some school bus drivers.
Yes,
and we can improve the school system.
Yeah,
and we can get more people to come sauna and cold plunge.
Yes, I'm here for all of it, man.
Would you recommend this experience to anyone else, everyone else?
100%. 100%. I think just what you shared with me, and the education behind the science behind it. Like do some research and find out for yourself. But I think the benefits are more than worth it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you just gotta get past your fears or your ego or whatever. I've told so many people to do cold plunge that have just body aches or depression or, any of the many things that it helps. And their initial response is always like, yeah, but I don't like the cold. That's like, nobody likes the cold.
Yeah.
That's not the point. The point is to do the thing that you don't like, because it creates a response and your body then gets better. It's pretty easy. There's a lot of research out there. There's tons. I mean, you can YouTube effects of cold plunge, sauna, all that stuff. I mean, you could watch videos for days, but until you come in and do it, like the feeling that you got from this, it's just like it just breathes life into you.
Proof's in the pudding, right?
Yeah,
give it a shot. Yeah, it don't work for you, don't do it anymore.
True.
Yeah. So the research is research, then it becomes experience when you try it.
Yeah,
your experience will tell all. But yeah, I think it's awesome, man.
Anything else you want to plug or say or do, or?
I don't think so, man.
Come down to White Hart.
Well, yeah.
Get some coffee, buy some food.
Lynchburg's living room, man.
What do you guys do? You guys still do something every Thursday, or?
Every Thursday night we do open mic. So tonight we got open mic. It's always a blast.
I've been in there a few times. It's quite the scene.
We've got third Sundays, or we have C'est La Vie come in, and they play music, and a lot of times they'll open the mic and collaborate with local artists and stuff, and so that's always packed out and a blast. So every third Sunday of the month, and looking to do more of that. We love to support the artist community locally. Also big on supporting education locally, so a lot of our events and stuff are curated around those.
You guys should team up and have a little America's Got Talent, and then whoever wins that, based on the judges, gets a free session over here to sauna and cold plunge.
Ooh, okay, all right. Dude, I'm gonna tell you, there's some serious talent that comes to.
Oh,
it's wild.
It's insane.
I'm like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome, man.
Well, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing more talent at White Hart and seeing if we can't get them to come over here.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Thank you for all you do in this community, man.
Yeah,
you're an inspiration.
I'm just here to talk about stuff and have fun. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right.